So, word on the grapevine is you want to get yourself a dirt bike, but you're saying you're too dang poor. I can't afford one. I need to be more financially responsible. Well, I'm here to tell you guys right now. All you need to do, come here, smoke some crack. Yep, get that pookie going with that pookster. All right, guys. Well, a lot of you guys joined probably this video to see what you can do to get yourself a nice little dirt bike, being financially poor, financial situation not so good. You know what? And I get it because I'm poor too. Yeah. Now, the last thing you want to do is go buy yourself a piece of junk. Piece of junk that's been ran through. That's the last thing you want to buy. Get yourself something, what we like to call around here is más or menos, which means decent in translation slang, whatever. It means decent for my domestic viewers out here. You know what I mean? Okay, something más or menos, something decent. Alrighty, because like I said, the last thing you want to do, buy yourself a piece of junk, and you're gonna be spending more time working on it than riding it. I.e., that means has decent tires. The engine turns over. There's not a bunch of wires everywhere. It's not all taken apart. Everything from there seems to be, everything from the bike seems to be there, and that's what you want to look for when you find yourself a deal on the Facebook market. Title, if you can, right? It's a dirt bike, doesn't really matter. Make sure it's not stolen. You know what I mean? And that's really it. To be honest, after that, these bikes are so, how can I say it, old, or such a relic, or how can I say it? What's the word I'm looking for? I can't find the word. But they're super simple. So lots of times, all you have to do is just make sure you have spark, compression, fuel. Tell you what, you're ready to party. Sounded horrible. Party. You're ready to party. Patna. Saddle up. Patna. Now, speaking of saddling up, tell you what, Patna, you're probably wondering, what type of bike do I got right here? What type of bike does $600 get you? Well, this is a 2003 Honda XR400r. I'm sure you guys probably seen a lot of these type of bikes out there, but then there's different variants. There's the XR200s. The last videos I did was a XR80. This one itself is an XR400R, which is a trail bike. The other variant was a 400L, which was the street legal that had indicators and all that good stuff. This itself is just a trail bike, just ready to hit the trails, have some lights when it gets dark, and have a tail light so people riding behind you can see you in the trails. Let's go ahead and get the meat and potatoes of this bike right here. Right, this is an air-cooled 4-stroke 400cc dirt bike. Back in the day, now it's pretty tired and clapped. But back in the day, this thing made 34 horsepower, it made 24 foot-pounds of torque, and it had a top speed of 85 miles an hour. Now that's pretty quick. If you ever been on a dirt bike, I think anything over 60 is pretty intense, especially when you're on the dirt trails. Now, this 400cc motor is mated to a 5-speed transmission. It has nice adjustable front and rear suspension from Showa, and on top of that, it has disc brakes front and rear. Not bad. On top of it, it has a 2.5 gallon tank, which is pretty good size for an enduro bike or a dirt bike. I have a 2.5 tank or 2.7 liter tank or gallon tank, excuse me, tank on my MT-09, and it lasts me a week traveling about 40 miles every day for 5 days. So not bad. So this will probably last you a good while. On top of that, did I mention it's a Honda? All right. So you got the bike. You brought it home. You're staring at it. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're like, what am I going to do? Don't worry. We have a plan. What I'm going to go over with you guys right now is how to basically look for the basics to see why your bike is not starting. Main thing to look at is compression. And possibly, if you can, I would definitely check to see if that's compression before you take it home. Because if it doesn't, tell you what, Patna, you might be straight out of luck. And I've been there, so I know how it feels. But the main thing I want to do is check for compression. Now, Kickstart, super easy. Make sure it's not super easy to kick over. This one already has compression. And spoiler alert, yeah, I already got it to run. So the next thing I want to do is check to see if you have a spark. Now, one of the main things that's important here too as well is spark, because without spark, how are you gonna light that fire on, baby? How are you gonna make that internal combustion engine move, baby? You know what I mean? You need some spark to go along with the fuel. Okay. Now, fuel is probably one of the last things to worry about, because if you don't have spark, you can put fuel on there, it ain't gonna start. You don't have compression, you know what I mean? You ain't gonna start. You can always go get yourself a gallon of gas. Okay. Give it a little spritz on the carb, kick it over. If you know you have spark, and it should fart around, which is what I did. One of the things that I bought for was this spark plug for it. As you guys can hear, maybe not see, but that right there, you're not supposed to do that, be able to do that. And I don't know if you guys can see. I'm hoping, I'm gonna see if the camera picks it up. But see this little insulation right here? It's not supposed to do that. So, this thing right here, it's not supposed to move like that. It's supposed to be right there, right in the air. So that was one of the things that I definitely replaced right away before I got it started. So like I said, check for spark. When I went in and checked for spark, I pulled the plug out, right? Put the boot back on, kicked it over, and I looked for a spark right here, which it did have. You'll see it right. Can you see me? You see my ugly face though, huh? So the camera, I want to see. Camera's like, I want to see you, Eddie. I don't want to see about that spark plug. I want to see you, you perv. Okay, so that in between that little thing right here, there should be some spark. All right. So I was pretty bummed, because when I saw this, I was like, dang, I wanted to get it running that same night. I wanted to see what it was about, because like I said, I had some bad luck in the past, and I was very anxious to see if I was able to get, if I got a decent deal or what's going on, right? When I pulled this bad boy out, I was pretty bummed out. Like, damn, I got to start looking for spark plug. I'll have to order parts. Luckily, I robbed my XT500 spark plug, and then I slapped, which is in the bike right now, right? And got the bad boy to run. Threw a little bit of, brake cleaner, kicked the crap out of it, you know what I mean? Leg day, and spark, it farted right up. It didn't fire right up. It farted, all right? Which means it went, that was it, okay? So, let me go in and get the new spark plug in and kind of show you guys what you want to check for. So we're going to do a little simulation here, simulation here, okay? And to kind of show you guys what you need to do to get this bike running. Right off the bat, I got the new plug. In the NGK, I can tell there are different part numbers, which I should have just searched up the part number and got the same plug. Now, the thread looks about the same. The gap is a little bit more open on this one. And the main difference I see here is now the hex. So, can you see? Let me hold you guys the same. So you can see how this one a little bit smaller. This one a little bit larger. So we're gonna see if it works. Let's find out. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it has enough room just to get me a socket in there and tighten it up. Now, first thing we're gonna do now is go ahead and take off the spark plug that I put in there so I can get the bike running. It's usually right up front here, guys. Depending on the bike, it can be back here, right here. But usually they're right here, and just the boot that you want to go ahead and just take off. If you got yourself some hose pliers, go ahead and just use them. Boom. That was a lot easier than struggling by hand. Boom. It is out. The plug is out its way. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get a socket to stick down there and pull this plug out. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys won't be able to see, but there's a spark plug in here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is get myself a 9/16 spark plug remover or socket and just put it in here, fish it up in there until you feel you got it. Ooh, I put that on there tight, patent. There we go. think that should do it right there. Now remember, guys, don't force the force. If you force the force, something good might not come out of it. All right, so got the spark plug out. Now, one of the main things you want to do is always check to see if you have spark, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, put this bad boy right around here so I can have a little bit of ground action. Now, I'm gonna see if I can zoom up right there for you guys. Now, we should see some spark come from right here when I kick it over. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I saw some spark. Cool. So now that we know the bike has spark, right, we want to go ahead and put the plug back in. But I'm going to go ahead and put a new one in instead. Now, fingers crossed. This is where the dun 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 it comes into play, because to be honest, I don't know if this socket can fit down here. And it can't. See, that was my fear. I was gonna have a socket that was too big that can't fit down here. So it turns out the plug I bought does not fit. But not all is lost. You have to look at it from different perspectives. It did fit my XT500. So my XT500 got a new plug. What I'm going to go ahead and do is tuck my tail behind my legs, and I'm going to go ahead and put the old one back on, or the one I took out from the XT500 back in here to the XR400. And then I'm going to go ahead and just order the right parts instead of Googling XR400 spark plug and then getting the wrong one. I'm going to actually Google the NGK plug, the model, and then get me where that bad boy ordered. So that way we can partay. Now, luckily for me, all I had to do was just go ahead and take the plug out, put another one in, throw some brake cleaner down the carb, and got myself a leg day for my right leg only. Now that you put a little bit of, how can I say it, brake cleaner on the bike, we want to go ahead and try to make it fart. So what we'll do is try to recreate that. We're going to go ahead and go straight to town here. All right. You're basically going to go ahead and be kicking forever. You're going to be kicking, right? And usually when you start a bike, you want to feel, if it's a Kickstarter, you want to feel for when it hits compression to its top stroke. And you'll usually feel it when you're kicking it, when it gets to the top right there, and then now you're probably gonna get a little frustrated and tired. I'll be honest, it's gonna be a little discouraging, but as long as you have your choke on and you're persistent enough, you don't quit. Cause mama don't raise no quitters. Keep kicking. Now, that's perfect. Technically, that's all you want to hear. Now, the reason being is because you don't want to be throwing a bunch of brake cleaner on there just to hear it fart around. You can if you want to. Now, to be honest, that was probably good enough. Let's see here. Should get it fired up after a while. And usually that's what you want to hear, right? Hear it fire up. It's probably gonna die after so much of that, okay? So bingo, we got ourselves a winner. What are the next steps, we may ask? Now, the next step, what you want to do, I'm out of breath. Now that we know that it farts around, that it starts up, right? Perfect. Now we need to start refining stuff. In that point where we got to start ordering parts, spark plug boots, petcock, carb kits. After you get that stuff, you can put it together and you should have yourself a running bike like I do now. So I'll try to include some of the carb cleaning and stuff in the videos, but see if I can find it, alrighty? But after you got that part, you should basically have yourself a nice running bike that you can putt around. Now it's probably, you probably might get lucky if your petcock is working, have a decent clean tank, and you can probably get it to fire up and start running right away. Okay, but it's not always like that, as to why sometimes you gotta get yourself some parts. In this case, I already bought myself a carb rebuild kit. I went ahead and got the spark plug. Spark plug didn't work, and I have the brakes, which I'm gonna go ahead and install right now, because after you get it running and driving, what's one of the most important things after you're hauling ass? Coming to a stop, right? You want to make sure you stop. And this bike, its brakes are toast. So let's go ahead and get to work on that, and we'll go take it for a ride after. What I want to start with here is the front brakes. Now, you don't have to do this. If you want to be a little bit on nail about it, then you can. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the bolts to, or the little screws to your brake reservoir. Hit the tripod. Now, what I use here is just a little impact driver. Basically, it's a Phillips drive. Now, be very careful using a screwdriver on these, okay? Because you have a high possibility, and most likely will, strip them out. So make sure you're very careful doing so. And if you feel like, second try, you slip out, stop right there. Go to your hardware store, or your tool store, or somewhere online. Order yourself an impact driver. They're super cheap, and they're going to be a lifesaver, and you use them all the time. You'll never not want to use this thing. Now, after you break them loose, then you grab yourself old Felipe here, and then get your screws out. Now, the reason we're doing this is because sometimes when you're pressing the brake, the calipers, it's going to push a little bit of fluid up here. And to be honest, it probably needs a fluid change, so I'm going to do a fluid change as well. Take a look here. Oof, I don't think I can take it out. I'm going to have to see if I can adjust these right. Don't hit the tripod. And then, there we go. Sheesh, I won. Just a little bit. That way, it can clear right here. Perfect. Just a little bit. Just a poquito. There we go. Now, I can take this off. And to be honest, fluid's pretty brown. I am going to probably want to get some more fluid for the rear, because I only have, feel like about this much of fluid. So that'll probably work here, but the rear one's a little bit larger. So we're going to play it by ear and see how we do it. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do basically is replace the pads. Now, I'm not going to touch the rotor because it seems okay. Man, this is a theme of it. It's supposed to be as cheap or economical as possible. At that point, we're just going to replace the pads, do a brake fluid flush, and I'm just going to start from right here. Now, I'm going to give it a little bit of some WD-40 action. And same dealio, I'm going to use the impact driver here. This is just a cover. Shouldn't be on too tight, but again, sometimes stuff corrodes, it gets wet, and boom. Now we have access to an Allen. So looks like the Allen's a 5 milli, so we're going to go ahead and take this bad boy off. Alright, so after reviewing a diagram, it turns out I do have to take off the bracket. Then at that point I can pull out the caliper. So let's go ahead and do that. These are tiny, 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 tiny. It goes. clip. Just be careful with those. So, to be honest, let's see here. I had a good amount of life on these bad boys, to be honest. Now let's go ahead. And these are original, I think. I'm pretty dang sure these are Nissan. Now, hopefully I got the right ones. Right now, I'm 0-1 for the right parts. And to be honest, let's see here. Yep, we got the right parts. What do you know? New ones, old ones. It's todo mieri. Pat yourself on the back. Alright guys, so I'm not going to clean them. I'll clean them later. I need to get this video done. So what I want to do is basically compress the pistons in here. And you can see that right there. I'm going to compress these bad boys right here. Okay, this is basically what pushes out and pushes against this and causes to clamp onto the brake and causes your braking. So I'm going to go ahead and compress these. You can use a C-clamp. I'm going to be using just a little tool I have here and just slowly compress. Should probably careful. See it leaking from the top? I don't think so. Nice and slow until they're all the way seated against the housing. And there we go. Boom. Swapskis. Type shit. Dropping shit. Type shit. A lot better. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease on the pins. So right here, sliding pin. Just like you would a car. You can do the same thing with this other pin here. Clean it off. Like I said, it's probably a little bit overboard. No, this is, you know what, never mind. This ain't overboard, Patna. This is good. Now let me figure out how this bad boy goes. Like this. Sweet. Boom. So now you should have some sweet action like this. See? Sheesh. That way your brakes don't just eat up, your pads don't get eaten up by one side. Run out of light. The light. Nice and slowly. You should probably use your manual to know what foot-pounds. But shouldn't be too much. Perfect. Looks like we didn't even make a mess. Perfect. It's getting dark now. Filming takes forever. But let's move this bike. A little bit careless with this, but it's okay. So basically, look at that. Pretty nasty. And I didn't like what I saw. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my fluid extractor here and get all this nasty stuff out. Because you know what? I don't want to push any of that stuff back into the system. Go ahead and grab a shop towel. That stuff was nasty. It was, to be honest, it looked like there was rust or something. Obviously, probably moisture accumulated in there. Looked nasty, nice and all. So I'm probably not gonna have enough fluid now for sure to do the rear brake. I'll have to probably wait for another day. But there we go. That looks a lot better. It's actually clear. You guys can probably barely see that, but it's actually nice and clear. Go ahead and do the brake fluid flush from the bottom. Okay, so now that I have clean fluid up top, I'm going to go ahead and crack this bad boy loose. For a lot of you guys, you're going to have to probably go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way, where you basically, you basically pump the front brake and hold, and then you're going to break this loose like this, and then you should have some type of little hose to catch the fluid, and you should push it out, and then you close it right away after that. Keep holding it, okay? Don't let go. And then when you finally close the valve, you finally let go at that point, okay? So what I want to do here now, it's already leaking, is extract some of that fluid. They're sucking all the bad stuff out. And I'm going to top off the reservoir because I already lowered also the level. And I'm going to do this until I top it off one more time. I overflow it a little bit, so just crack it a little bit. That looks good to me. Go ahead and tighten this bad boy up. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this back here. Little dust cover. Alright, so now we're in the rear. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this little cover. Go ahead and grab my trusty little impact driver. Insert SO. And boom. Now, you don't have to do it, but I do it just, I don't mess up the hardware. The hardware. The sliding pin dryer, I might have to take off the whole thing and remove the wheel. But I'll tell you what, Daddy ain't doing that. Patner. Daddy ain't doing that shit. Hell no. There we go. Oh, it's a single piston, so I can just give it one of these little. Let's go. I should come out like that. Damn, this thing was toast. Look at that. I'll tell you what, these things were, yeah, yonkeado. Patina, those things were metal on metal. Look at that. And I was doing wheelies with that shit. Oh, it's so flat, dude. This one has a little bit of bite. You can see that little dip right there, but this one over here, ya estaba más pelón que sheesh. Luckily, it didn't damage the rotor. There we go. Oh yeah. There we go, partner. Saddle up, so you would. No, it spins. Nice. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of grease on our say here pin, because then you will be toast. See, by hand. All right, now we're at the rear reservoir. I think I have enough to fill it up once. So I'm gonna do the same thing where I suck out what the hell's in there, because it's nasty. Add new fluid, and hopefully I have enough. Like coffee, man. Give it a good cleaning. This thing has. Oh, I have one more thing. So nice and clear. See that? Perfect. Do here is the same thing. Pop the dust cover off. Get my wrench on the right nipple, and then flush it out. There we go. Getting all. Oh, that's horrible. That looked horrible. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's. Damn. That's disgusting, bro. Very delicate with this. Hit it with some brake cleaner. Alright, locos. Looks like we finished today. Actually on time. It's actually dark outside right now. But we did finish the bike, which was just replace the brake pads, bleed the brakes, because it had some nasty fluid in there. And then on our next video, we're going to go ahead and take it out for a ride and see how the bike runs and what we need to buy for it from there.